Good morning, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Happy post-election day. I wanted to give my thoughts and opinions on everything that took place last night and why I think Kamala Harris lost. Obviously, as we all know, if you stayed up late enough to about 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning, you would have found out that Trump did end up winning Pennsylvania, which pretty much ensured that he won the election. But it actually goes further than that. Kamala Harris did not win a single battleground state. Not one. As a matter of fact, we can just take a look at this map right here. Trump won Wisconsin. Michigan is still too early to call, but it looks like Trump is going to win Michigan as well. North Carolina, Trump won there. Trump won Pennsylvania. Trump won Nevada. It looks like Trump is going to win Arizona. Trump won Georgia, which remember Biden won in 2020. Just an absolute mess. Just a crap show for Kamala Harris. She absolutely, you know what the bet here. She did terrible. It was a blowout. She didn't win it. She didn't win much of anything in terms of the battleground states, which obviously, as you know, that's typically what the elections come down to, is about 6 or 7 battleground states. And she didn't win that. Now, I kind of want to talk about why I think she lost. Okay. Number one, she made a bunch of mistakes. There was this like Catholic charity event thing. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. I can't remember what it's called. Maybe I can look it up real quick. But there's this Catholic charity thing or dinner that every president goes to that Kamala Harris did not attend. Charity. Kamala didn't show up. Yeah, there's like this Catholic dinner thing that Kamala didn't show up to, and I think that absolutely hurt her. It's called the Al Smith. This is it. The Al Smith dinner. Kamala Harris skipped that. A president hasn't skipped that dinner in a very long time. Now, some of you guys will probably think, "Oh, Echoes, it's just a dinner. It's not a big deal." But let's fully articulate everything here. Let's bring it all together here. So, not only did Kamala Harris not show up to the dinner, right? Kamala Harris also did not do the Joe Rogan podcast. Now, some of you guys who watch this channel, you probably watched my live stream last night that I did on the main channel. Thank you for that, by the way. On that channel, I originally said that I did not think that Kamala made a mistake not going on the Joe Rogan podcast because I thought that Joe Rogan, well, it's a fact that Joe Rogan has a right-leaning audience. Joe Rogan's audience is filled with a bunch of independents and people who typically lean right or lean Trump. However, I forgot to mention that a lot of Joe Rogan's audience is independents, which means had Kamala Harris went on Joe Rogan's podcast, she would have had a very good chance of getting some of those votes had she been able to get her message out. It was a huge mistake on her part to not go on the Joe Rogan podcast, and it actually went on to help Donald Trump, and I'm going to tell you how. After Kamala Harris and her team decided not to go on Joe Rogan's podcast. By the way, let me just pull this up real quick just to show you guys how much of an impact I think this had on the election. Let's just pull up YouTube real quick. So if we look at Kamala Harris, instead of going on Joe Rogan's podcast, she went on Club freaking Shay Shay, which I hated. I thought that was stupid. I thought that was terrible. But she went on Club Shay Shay. She went on Shannon Sharp's podcast, which, by the way, I watched it. It was terrible. It was not fun to watch at all. Nothing good came out of that. I don't know why she did that. That only got 1.6 million views. Now, if we scroll over to Joe Rogan and we look at how many views he got bringing Donald Trump on, again, remember, Kamala Harris got 1.6 million views on Shannon Sharp. Donald Trump got 46 million views. And so Joe Rogan desperately, he said it. He said, I would love for Kamala Harris to come on my podcast. She turned it down, which was obviously a huge misstep, because what I forgot to say last night in my live stream is that there are a lot of independent voters who watch Joe Rogan's podcast. And even if you feel like Joe Rogan's audience is right leaning, it doesn't matter. He has such a huge reach. If you want to get your message out, you have to go on that podcast. You cannot skip out on the #1 podcast in the entire world. That was just foolish. Let's go ahead and look up JD Vance, because what happened was Joe Rogan was like, okay, you don't want to come on here? Fine, I'm going to replace you with JD Vance. He brings JD Vance on. The episode with JD Vance gets 15 million views. And then Joe Rogan takes it a step further. He's like, okay, you still don't want to come on? Okay, fine. I'm going to have everybody else who wants to come on. The guy brings Elon Musk on. And Elon Musk, that episode gets 11 million views. And Elon Musk basically talks about why this is one of the most important elections ever and blah, blah, blah. So everybody who watches the Joe Rogan podcast only got to hear one side. They didn't even get to hear your side because you didn't go on there, which was really, really dumb. And also, Joe Rogan ended up endorsing Donald Trump, which, yes, that is a huge endorsement because, again, a lot of Joe Rogan's audience members are Republican. Now, there's something else interesting that I want to show you guys as well. Yesterday, we saw an utter and complete red wave. There was a red wave. There was a red sweep. Not only did Donald J. Trump blow Kamala Harris out of the water, but you also saw it very well looks like the Republicans are not only going to win the White House, they have already won the Senate. They've already won majority in the Senate. That's over. That's done. The House votes are still being accounted for in terms of the House of Representatives. I could pull that up right now. It looks like the Republicans are not only going to win the presidency and the Senate, it actually looks like they're going to win the House as well. Right now, the Republicans are sitting at 210. Democrats are sitting at 193. They only need 218 in order to get the majority. I think that they're going to get that. Let's move on over to here. Most of you guys know I am from Chicago, Illinois. I live here right now. Something very shocking that I saw, a lot of these states that typically vote deep blue, like they overwhelmingly vote Democrat. Republicans, for the most part, know that they never in a million years have a chance of winning. You saw a lot of these states flip red. Now, Donald Trump didn't win these states, but they overwhelmingly shifted. I guess that's a better way to articulate it. They didn't vote red, but they shifted red. Even though those states still went blue, they shifted further red than we've seen in 30 years since 1988. Remember, all of these states right here, New York, New Jersey, Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, Vermont, Maryland, all the New England states, these states have not voted Republican since 1988. Most of these places have not voted Republican since the 1980s. What you saw here is you saw a shift in the points. I'm sure most of you guys know what the shift in the points means, but for those who don't know, I'll explain it. This right here is the margin of victory. So, for example, let's say Donald Trump gets 55% of the vote, Kamala Harris gets 45%. That means the margin of victory for Trump was 10 points. That's what that means. So what this is saying right here is that in New York in 2020, it says right here, how have deep blue states moved in this election from 2020 to 2024? In New York, the margin of victory was 23. That means that Biden won by 23 points in 2020. Fast forward to 2024, Kamala Harris only won by 12 points. Look at New Jersey. Oh my goodness. New Jersey, the numbers have shifted so far to the right. New Jersey could very well be a swing state in 2028, but New Jersey went from being 16-point margin of victory for Joe Biden in 2020 to only a 4-point margin of victory. What this essentially means is, let's say Kamala Harris got 50% of the vote, and let's say Kamala Harris got 54% of the vote, and Donald Trump got 50%. Like it was that close. Like it's just 4 points. It's a 4-point margin of victory, extremely close. Fast forward to Massachusetts, seeing the same thing. Look at Rhode Island, 23-point margin of victory to 13. Connecticut, 20-point margin of victory to 8. And I wanted to also show Illinois. Look at Illinois, 17-point margin of victory to 8. Could Illinois slowly move to become a swing state? That would be nuts. That would be absolutely insane. But again, this just speaks to the fact that, in my personal opinion, and again, I'm just giving you guys the reason why I think Kamala lost. Most of you guys know that I voted for Kamala. Yes, I am a Democrat. That's not a secret. But today's video is not about who I voted for, who I wanted to win, who won, who lost, what's going to happen. It's not about that. This video is simply about why Kamala lost. And the reason why I think Kamala lost, there were so many missteps in her campaign. She underestimated. She failed to speak not only to male Latino voters. Matter of fact, let me see if I can find that graphic. There was a graphic in the Washington Post that kind of showed like the racial demographics or whatever of like how people voted. Let me just see if I can find it real quick. I might be able to. I don't see it, but there was a graphic from the Washington Post about it, where it basically said, hold on, I should be able to find it. The Washington Post. Racial demographics voting. It was like 52% of Latino men voted for for Donald Trump. Racial demographics voting 2024. I'm mad I can't find it. I should have that pulled up, but I don't. Here it is right here. Exit polls. Exit polls. That's it right there. Okay. Okay, so now I just have to do this real quick because there's always a paywall. Getting to that in just a second. Okay, I don't think it's meant to be. All right, well, anyway, I'm trying to pull it up, and it's not working. It's taking forever to load. So, yeah, anyway, Kamala made a bunch of mistakes. This whole Meg Thee Stallion and all the little stripper rappers twerking at the concert, that was not a good look. I don't care what people say. I personally didn't like it. That's not going to stop me from voting for Kamala, but it just wasn't good. And, you know, once again, Kamala just wasn't able to speak to certain demographics that were extremely important. For example, suburban white women. You would have thought that Kamala Harris would have spoke to that demographic with her whole abortion stance and different things like that, but it didn't work. White women voted for Trump. Suburban white women voted for Trump. Latino men voted for Trump. Trump got more of the black male vote than any Republican candidate has in a very long time. Trump got 20% of the black male vote. So when you add all that together, man, it just wasn't good for Kamala. Let me see if I can pull this up. It's still loading. Let me try something else. I'm trying to pull this up so you guys can see like the racial demographics, like the breakdown. Okay, it looks like I finally got it pulled up. So let me just go ahead and go to it because I want you guys to see this. But this right here kind of speaks to why Kamala Harris lost. Here it is right here. So you look at gender by race, and you can clearly see right here, white men overwhelmingly voted for Trump. No shocker there. However, white women, well, I would say white women isn't really that much of a shocker, but Biden did do a little bit better with suburban white women in 2020. That's something to keep in mind. 20% of black men voted for Trump. Obviously, black women are never going to vote Republican. They're always going to vote Democrat. Hispanic men, Latino men, look at this, 54% voted for Trump. And then Latino women, 37%. So no matter how you slice it, bad campaign for Kamala Harris. You definitely saw a red wave. You definitely saw a red sweep. It very well may be the fact that by the time it's all said and done, when the election results finalize, not only will Trump have completely destroyed Kamala in the election, it looks like the Republicans are going to win both the House and the Senate. So anyway, that's my breakdown. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.